Breaking today, Prince Harry's courtroom dramas are set to cost him £1.5 million as his biographer and our royal mastermind, Angela Levin, reports that the Duke is in a total mess financially as he continues with these spurious examples of lawfare. So Angela Levin, £1.5 million of his own money sunk into another disastrous case, and he doesn't have this money anymore, does he? I mean, I know there's the inheritance from the late Queen Mother, and he is still sitting on the nest egg from Princess Diana, but remember, their outgoings are so extraordinarily large. What are you hearing about the financial situation and why this is potentially motivating this attempt at peace talks with King Charles?
Yes, well, it's extremely difficult for him because Meghan uses so much money. They have so many people who try to look after them, all four of them. It's 3 a day, so they get an awful lot of money for that. Meghan has the most expensive clothes and jewelry that you can imagine, and they're living in a house that's far too big for her. I always say this, they don't need 16 bathrooms, and it's still true. You have to live according to how you can manage. And so he thought he would win. He still thinks, I'm a prince. They listen to me. You can see that in many things he says. He goes off and he still expects to get the same reaction as he had when he was a prince. Well, he is by name, but it's no longer. His life is like a prince. People aren't that interested in it anymore. If he wants to go and give a speech, not many people are so interested anymore. So this is it. So he still feels that he should get some money, if it's not from the...
Before you watch the full video, please take a second to subscribe to my channel. It really helps a lot.
Court, it should be from our tax, but I can assure you that people don't want to give him tax so he can get Meghan over and they can afford all these things. He's not interested. He's missed out because he's been so appallingly behaved that people don't feel now they want to help him because he's not doing anything to help himself actually or anybody else. He doesn't make anything important. Nobody really cares for either of them. What have they done or said now that's been really important? Jam? Wine? Scam jam, or even ordinary jam.
Pissy
it's
rosé.
Not very interesting. Netflix is not going to get their £100,000 in worth because nobody's really interested in that. That they don't drag people. Before, what they said about their lives and how they were living, absolutely fascinating. Oh gosh, this is terrible. How poor man, poor woman. And now you don't believe a word of it. Quite right too. Even Meghan's mother's gone off because she doesn't like her moaning and groaning anymore. So they've got nothing to offer, and he's got to try and get the money somehow, and that is to go through the courts. But this time, the judge has caught up with him. And first of all, the judge can't stand it anymore because he feels he's wasting time. But the other thing is that he believes that Harry and his team have been giving other people money, so they support them about they should get money from the judge of what's happened.
This case is dirty and dodgy, isn't it, Angela?
Very dirty.
I mean, by the way, just because you mentioned Doria, though, someone made one of these hilarious little AI videos, Angela, which I think will put a smile on your face. So there's Doria, and there she's like, nope, I'm out. I'm gone. Get me as far away from that woman as possible. This case, Angela, it is just worth me revealing some of the details about it because it was completely overshadowed in all of the reaction to the peace summit. A lot of people think Harry and Meghan, I should say, purposefully leaked the details of the peace summit to overshadow what was a real embarrassment in court, where he was ordered to reveal any payments to witnesses in this case against the Daily Mail. And the details are extraordinary, Angela, absolutely extraordinary. So he has been ordered to reveal to the High Court any payments or inducements made in return for evidence in his claim against the Daily Mail, Associated Newspapers, the publisher that owns the Mail, is accused of carrying out or commissioning unlawful activities such as hiring private investigators to place listening devices inside cars, blagging private records, burglaries to order, and accessing and recording private phone conversations. The publisher denies the allegations made by a group of high-profile public figures, including the Duke, Baroness Lawrence, Elizabeth Hurley, Sir Elton John, Sadie Frost, and Simon Hughes. Instead, they claim that incentives were offered or paid by researchers working for the claimant's legal team, including a £5,000 a month deal with a private investigator called Gavin Burrows. In a ruling, Mr. Justice Snicklin criticised the inconsistent and incoherent approach made by the claimants to providing such evidence, declaring their explanations unconvincing. He said there were serious questions to be answered about the status of the claimant's research team, particularly the documents they held, and whether there had been adequate disclosure. The Duke of Sussex is said to have sent a text message to Baroness Lawrence, alerting her that information had come to light that she would want to know about, prompting her to join the legal action just a few months later. So, Angela, this is extraordinary on a whole load of levels, because the first thing is, from a macro level, right? You're meant to be a Prince of England. You are meant to be focused on the betterment of the world. That's what you told us you cared about. You are now working with dodgy and dirty celebrities and awful celebrity lawyers like that slippery snake David Sherborne to try and bring down a newspaper. And I know you have personal connections with Baroness Lawrence, who was the woman that we saw there. Of course, Doreen Lawrence, her son, Stephen Lawrence, killed brutally. The Daily Mail had this close relationship with her for many years. And we learn in this court documentation, Angela, that it was actually Prince Harry himself who got involved to destroy that relationship, which to me feels like such an overreach on his part. So something that he shouldn't be getting involved with. It shows you just how awful he has become, because it's like, oh, Doreen Lawrence, she might not listen to Elton John or another celebrity, but Prince Harry, he will have my best interests at heart. It's like, no, he doesn't, Doreen. This is simply just his campaign against the Daily Mail and nothing more. But Angela, the judge is also horrified that so much of this documentation has actually gone missing again, which seems to be a common theme with Prince Harry. Like, do you remember all of those messages between him and his ghostwriter, J.D. Moore-Ringer of Spare, were just miraculously deleted, and the judge was very disappointed about this. So it's like, Harry, what are you doing? This is so dirty. Is this really where you expected your life to go out to, where you could have been trying to do positive things like your mother did? Instead, this is what you do. You're mired in one of the dirtiest, dodgiest, darkest court cases in modern history.
Yes. Well, I mean, when you hear that somebody's giving money to keep somebody quiet, so that they agree that they will say what they want, what Harry wants them to say. I mean, it just turns your stomach, doesn't it? How low can you go? The judge, of course, is very, very angry. And you can hear from the sentences he said that he might just get rid of them all in one sweep, unless they provide all this and how much each person has been given money to help them out to say what they don't necessarily want to say, but what Harry wants to say them, and sweep them out, which will be so shameful, so shameful. I mean, I was on the Mail, and I know all that family very well, and I interviewed them several times, and the Mail was wonderful to them and helped in every possible way, and bravely put the photos of the people they thought had killed her son on the front cover, knowing that they could have been put into prison for doing so. They worked really hard. And then she just suddenly turned. I was at an award-winning thing, and they put me sitting next to her. And she said to me, she said, you know, I just wish you were black because I don't want a white person to win this one. I said, I'm sorry, but nothing I can do about that. That's how she was so ungracious. We wrote a lot. We were supporting her in every way. And then she takes this terrible thing from Harry, just a bit of money, we'll give you a little bit of money so that you do what we want. Oh my goodness, it blows your mind. And it's been hidden. And this was one thing being hidden, another thing being hidden. And now it just goes on that they're so frightened of what's going on because people no longer now want to protect them. It's one thing after another that we hear, and we're just not going to stop. You can't stop it. So many people have been writing very, very nasty things about Meghan, which they believe is true, very nasty about Harry, where before they shut up, they were quiet, even if they felt it. They didn't out of respect for the king or for anybody else. But now the door's open because they've been so revolting.
They really have. Speaking of revolting, Angela, did you see this extraordinary story involving Camilla Tominey at Wimbledon early this week? I mean, by the way, wasn't it just so wonderful to see at the weekend, last weekend, all of these wonderful pictures of Catherine and George and Charlotte, and they were just having the most wonderful day. But then Camilla Tominey was also there and ends up in a public row with a member of the Sussex squad called Judy in De Richmond, who posted this picture and wrote on X, sat behind Camilla Tominey at Wimbledon. Don't worry, Sussex squad. I mentioned I was a Harry and Meghan fan and that she blocked me on Twitter for me calling her a wanker. And Camilla replied saying, you were rude and obnoxious and annoyed everyone sitting in our area with your drunken screaming and shouting. Try laying off the source and showing some self-awareness next time you are in public, you vile troll. Now, it really has emerged that Judy in De Richmond is a true vile troll, obsessed with Camilla Tominey. And before I just have the evidence of that, Angela, which I'll show you in just one moment, Camilla Tominey earlier in the week actually addressed what happened on her podcast, The Daily Tea. Look at this.
I was just chatting away with my husband and I heard this shout of Camilla. So I kind of obviously instinctively turned around. It's not a name you hear that often.
No.
And
could be the Queen. But...
Could have been. And then I turned and I saw this lady. She was like, oh, I thought it was you. And I was like, oh, hi. So I kind of like lent out my hand to sort of greet her. She was on the row behind. And then she said, oh, I'm a Harry and Meghan fan, so I don't know if you'd want to shake my hand. And you blocked me on Twitter for calling you a something beginning with W.
Barclay banker, yes.
That's it. So I went, oh, that's a bit objectionable. And so it kind of like slightly sort of ruined the beginning of me watching this match because I thought, oh, God, there's hostility. I've got hostility towards me on my day off.
Yes.
And let's be honest, just for doing my job. And thought nothing more of it. And then returned home to discover that she had taken a photograph of me and then sort of put it on X with a view to kind of whip up support among her fellow Sussex squadders, which is the name we use to describe trolls who criticise people who aren't, you know, slavishly devoted to Harry and Meghan. And it kicked up a bit of a storm.
It did. I mean, there was a lot of support for you because regardless of the politics of it, it's a really rude...
And Judy in De Richmond, Angela, has been obsessed with Camilla Tominey for months. We've got the receipts. Let me take you through some of it, because I always think daylight is the best disinfectant in exposing these horrible people. So she's previously written Camilla Tominey's face when Johnson says Harry and Meghan were an asset to this country. This woman can't even keep the grimace off her face. Hate is making her ugly. And that was when she was interviewing Boris Johnson. She then said, I might be late to the party, but did Camilla Tominey really name her son Harry? The woman is obsessed. She said Camilla Tominey is a liar. Camilla Tominey is a grifter. She has realized that she can make money by trashing Meghan. There's no reason for her lies, but only to make money. Just remember that Camilla Tominey is a liar. She said Camilla Tominey fans are crazy. Camilla Tominey is a liar and a grifter. It takes a very special woman to be called a wanker. Camilla Tominey is a wanker. It's not just that. Kate never spoke up when Camilla Tominey said Meghan made Kate cry. Kate never spoke up when Meghan was getting hate and was suicidal. And that quote, recollections may vary, came straight from Kate's mouth. Meghan can drink her tea in peace. So this, Angela Levin, was extraordinarily nasty because this is the horrible cretinous behaviour of the Sussex squad online being moved into the real world. What did you make of it?
Well, I'm not surprised. I'm sure you're not either. I mean, I've had lots of nasty stuff as well. And I think I quite understand Camilla, who is very powerful, very strong, very organized, but it does, upset you. It makes something that you wanted to do or say difficult to do. You get over it quickly because you realize it's rubbish and they're just going to be nasty. But I had this thing, that the same thing, that you only want to work because you want to get money, you want to steal money from us, and how disgusting you are that you just want money. Well, I could say that about Meghan. I could say that about Harry. Everybody needs money. There's nothing to do that's wrong there. If they don't want to talk to me, they don't have to talk to me. But I've had a load of those things, and they're not nice. But you get used to the sentences. There are a couple of sentences that on our thing that comes up, and it's always the same person who's saying this about me in the middle of it all, and I just take no notice. I'm sure you do the same, don't you?
Absolutely. They are just vile, vile people.
Yes.
Angela,
Well,
really? Oh, sorry, you go.
just to say, I don't know how you can go to where all this tennis is going on, where everyone's having a nice time, and then shout it out at somebody who is there. It's really, really disgusting, isn't it? You haven't got the ability to control yourself. Ah, look, that's so lovely. That is so lovely. It was so sweet, but I have to say that Charlotte has actually now grown up. It's a very important outing because she had a famous clothes maker giving her, this is her first dress, Givenchy, very expensive, very important. And she's got a dress that is a midi dress, so it's just a bit lower. She used to have a little girl's dress. Now she's got a proper dress. And if you look at her nails, they're pink. Now, the late Queen wouldn't let any of her staff had nail polish on, and if they did, it had to be just white or very, very pale. So she's, I'm sure Catherine allowed her to do this, is creating a new view of people's hands, that she's got very pink hands, and the two of them with their and Flans would go to each other and blow the what was it?
The fan. It was lovely. No, it was
blow
very.
the fan, and it was lovely. And you see, they adore each other, and they have a lot of laugh. And I think that thing there was how much longer, because it was just before the end, and I thought she'd had enough. But she went down and she was chatting very nice. She loves it. She smiles, she curtsies, she shakes hands. I mean, she's a special girl, this one. I mean, they're all lovely, but she's actually got an extra quality. There we are. You can see the pink on her fingernails. Woohoo! Clever girl.
No, I have a feeling, Angela, this is going to be someone who could be almost like the Princess Anne. She probably will be the Princess Royal one day,
Yes.
and I could see her being that sort of stoic, duty-first type character for the rest of her life, even though she's so young. It very much feels that way. Angela,
She's done that all the time. Yes.
Yeah.
At various funerals and things like that, or when there's an outing, she tells them all off unless they're not sitting up properly.
Exactly.
Love it,
Exactly.
And
No, she's
very
got the
much-
Princess Anne in her. Honestly, I'm convinced.
Yes.
I'm convinced she
Yes,
has her
it's very funny.
auntie's way in her.
Yes.
Now, Angela, the big historic royal story of the week that really exploded was about Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, versus Princess Diana. It's as a result of this bombshell book publication. And I found it really fascinating, actually. So I'll take you through it, then you get your reaction. But it was headlined, when it was serialized, how Diana called Sophie Miss Goody Two-Shoes and reduced her to floods of tears by staring malevolently at her over dinner. Intimate new biography of the Duchess of Edinburgh reveals. So let me take you through this, because Angela, it was quite funny for me to think, oh goodness, yes, Sophie has been around that long, that she even did have this relationship with Diana. But this is what Sean Smith reveals in his book. So far, so good. But one person, Diana, Princess of Wales, was not at all happy to welcome Sophie into the royal fold, especially after a charity evening she hosted made 11 pages in Hello magazine, with Sophie looking very glamorous in a bottle green floor-length velvet gown, chatting and dancing with Edward. Sophie came across as beautiful and fun. The polite description of their relationship, as preferred by the more diplomatic of Sophie's friends, was to say that there was no love lost between the two women. Nothing summed up the situation better than what began as an innocuous afternoon tea with the Queen at Windsor Castle, attended by both Sophie and Diana, who came with her children, William and Harry. Every time an animated Sophie started to say something, Diana would begin speaking, which meant that Sophie had to stop. It is a tradition that if a more senior royal starts talking, the junior royal has to keep quiet. After what seemed like an age of being silenced by Diana, Sophie could no longer stand it, and having obtained the Queen's permission to leave, strode back to Edward's apartment seething with rage. On another occasion, she ran back to the apartment in floods of tears after a dinner at which Diana spent the whole time blatantly and intently staring at her. Sophie would do her utmost to avoid Diana if she possibly could. The Princess of Wales had a strongly held view that no commoner could possibly survive within the cold steel embrace of the royal family, and was not happy that Sophie, an ordinary girl from Kent, might succeed where she, an authentic aristocrat, had so abjectly failed. Diana and Sophie were both outsiders, but they were light years apart. The most obvious difference was money. Diana, a multi-millionairess, had it in sackloads, and Sophie did not. She had to do her best on £25,000 a year, her salary at MCM, the PR agency where she worked. Diana would spend 6 times that per annum on clothes alone. Sophie was not stupid enough to become involved in a fashion contest with Diana, knowing she would trail a poor second. She was happiest wrapping up in sensible clothes for a walk in the countryside. Diana would pop on a designer dress for the walk from her car to the entrance of her favourite restaurant, San Lorenzo in Knightsbridge. Sophie could do a very passable imitation of her nemesis, the clipped vowels and the Bambi look at the camera that was so much in evidence in the notorious 1995 Panorama interview. One of the reasons Sophie's impression of Diana was so good is that they bore more than a passing resemblance to one another. When Diana saw Sophie approaching at some function, she would be heard to utter, "Oh, here comes my double," or less politely, "Here comes Miss Goody Two Shoes." So Angela Levin, clearly no love lost between Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, and Princess Diana. Were you aware of this?
Well, I did know a bit that she was quite jealous of her. And you think, why, how on earth could you be jealous? All the things you've said, the money, the clothes, she's married, very important. I think second thought is that she felt very unstable, though she was very unhappy with Charles, and she felt that she was not good enough for him. And that meant that she had to try and prove that she was worth less, and she didn't want to prove that she was worthless. She wanted to prove that she was worth something. So she wanted to keep her quiet, and she was jealous. There's no reason to be jealous if you've got somebody who's on £25,000 pounds a year work, and she's got many pounds, millions of pounds. You don't really think that matters. But actually, if someone's got no confidence in themselves, they can feel that they're jealous of someone else. And the other thing that's quite interesting that she didn't like was that the Queen liked her very much, but she said it in a very odd way. The Queen said, she's a very, very nice girl. You hardly hear her say anything. She's so quiet, you see. People did take that wrongly, but the Queen didn't want all the noise that was going on, all the fighting and the arguing. She was very quiet. She didn't speak when she shouldn't. And I think that they became very, very close together. She felt that she was her daughter, really. The Queen loved her so much, and they went to church together, all those things. But Diana felt that the Queen didn't like her and didn't feel that she was right, having actually recommended that that Charles should marry her. It was all a terrible mess. It was the two grandmothers who felt that they would get on very well, but she had a terrible childhood, very bad childhood. She saw her father beaten, her mother beaten by her father, and she was damaging herself before she actually went out with Charles, you know, cutting herself and all that sort of thing, because she wasn't a satisfied Charles. And I think this is what came out, because stunningly beautiful as she was, she didn't have what she needed so that people would really like her and feel comfortable with her. But she was a lovely woman, and she did a great deal of good and was wonderful with people who were in very difficult situations. She could be helpful, marvelously helpful in hospitals and children and things like that. But if someone looked a bit like her or could do very similar things, then she got very angry, I think, and nervous.
Very well put, Angela Levin. You know I'm always going to be such a fan of Princess Diana. But of course, Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, is doing superb work for the royal family now. Angela Levin, our royal master. I'm Prince Harry and Queen Camilla's biographer. Thank you so much.
Prince Harry is in deep trouble. Again, a shocking new report reveals the Duke has lost £1.5 million in another disastrous courtroom battle, and the fallout is brutal. Royal biographer Angela Levin says Harry is financially drowning, and it's mostly because of Meghan. That's right. Sources claim Meghan's luxury lifestyle is bleeding Harry dry. Lavish outfits, endless staff, and a California mansion with 16 bathrooms. 16. And Harry? Still clinging to old royal status. But the world has clearly moved on. Insiders say he's desperate. So desperate, in fact, that he's now pushing for peace talks with King Charles. Not out of love, but out of financial survival. But the court case itself is far worse than anyone expected. Harry is suing the Daily Mail, accusing them of illegal tactics like tapping phones and hiring investigators. But here's the twist. Harry's own legal team is now accused of bribing witnesses. One investigator reportedly got £5,000 a month. The judge isn't buying Harry's story. In fact, he's furious, calling the evidence inconsistent and suspicious. To make matters worse, Harry allegedly texted Baroness Lawrence, convincing her to join the lawsuit. That same Baroness the Mail once bravely supported. And now, she's been pulled into a messy legal circus that's backfiring in real time. Documents have mysteriously gone missing. Evidence is incomplete. And just like that ghostwriter scandal from his memoir Spare, Harry's credibility is sinking. Even Meghan's own mother, Doria, is rumored to be distancing herself. And the public? Fed up. No one wants to fund his lawsuits, Levin says. Not when he's done nothing to help anyone, not even himself. This might just be the darkest chapter yet in Harry's post-royal life. And it's not over. The judge could throw the case out entirely, and that would be a crushing, humiliating blow. Is Harry gambling what little he has left? Or is this the beginning of his total collapse? Let us know in the comments.